Well, hello everyone. This is Brad Rubin. We're very excited to have Heath Shearon of Vertafore on the webinar today. So thank you for joining. A couple ground rules first. This is being recorded, so if you do have to dip out or you want to listen to this, we'll send you a link to the recording after the webinar. And this is meant to be a two-way conversation with y'all. You'll be muted, but Hannah's going to be monitoring the chat, and she'll bust in and let us know if there's questions about particular material that Heath is going over. So, insurance hacks. A little bit about us. Archway Computer, we started in 2011. We do IT support exclusively for independent insurance agencies. We support around 375 agencies all across the country, and this is some of our team members. About me, I've been helping independent insurance agencies with technology for, well, 38 years now, and spoken to thousands of insurance agents, love what I do, love the community that I'm in. The goal of our webinar is not for the participants or the invitees to tell you, here are all the reasons why you should buy my product. This is about helping your agency grow and giving you ideas, technology ideas that can help your agency be more productive, grow your book of business, etc., and talk to you about the latest trends that we're seeing out there. And Heath is about the best guy out there to talk about this. While we're on the subject of Heath, I've known Heath for I think 6 years. Heath has about the best voice in insurance that I've ever heard, but he's also, don't let the beautiful appearance throw you off. This is a super intelligent guy who we're just so excited to have on Insurance Hacks. So thank you for joining. And I'm going to, at this point, I'm going to turn it over to my man, Heath. And again,
way too kind.
And again, if you have any questions, please put them in chat. Hannah will get them off to us, etc. And I've already warned Heath that I have a short attention span, so I may be peppering him with questions as he goes through his presentation. Can you share your screen? Oh, perfect.
I am working on it. All right.
All right, there we go.
Yeah. So first of all, you're way too kind. I am pretty dang good looking, but I'm not as smart as you think I am. But no, we have known each other a little bit of time now, and so it's been really cool. You've actually been on my show on Insurance Town, so, and you're going to be on the Vertafore podcast soon too. So your people here, if they want to hear more from you, we're going to be highlighting you and Archway and what you guys do on insurance on the Vertafore Insurance podcast. So that's exciting. So, I've had the opportunity now to be at Vertafore for a little over a year now as content or senior content marketing manager, I think is the title, which is just a long title to say I do a lot of cool stuff with the podcast and webinars and, putting out content for what the cool things that we're doing at Vertafore. So I got an opportunity to write an ebook, actually several, but on ChatGPT, and then we had one on advantages of AI. And so I wanted to walk through some of that with you today, and then hopefully I won't get stumped by too many of Brad's questions. And if you guys want to, please jump in at any time and ask questions and whatnot. So, because if you try to wait to the end, like a Q&A at the end, I won't let you get there. I'll talk too much. So jump in, interrupt me, Hannah, let me know if there's any questions. But I want to just kind of walk through what I've been seeing as a former agency owner and former carrier rep, and consult with agencies now a little bit too. And what I'm seeing out there with AI and how agencies are using it to transform their agency, or just some of the game changing potential of AI within our industry. And some of the things I'll get into, you might think, man, I can't do this. There's no way. But man, they've made it so easy in so many ways with technology and whatnot. I'm not going to talk about but it says how, it's supposed to say how AI can enhance customer service. My apologies there. I have fat thumbs. But I want to talk about how AI can enhance customer service, streamline operations, and boost efficiency. I'll hurry up and get off this screen because this is Ho on it. So I'm going to get off of that. But some of the things that I wanted to get into is AI is everywhere. And you hear it in every industry, every conversation you have. But why it matters in our industry, in my opinion, is we're all trying to be more efficient. We're all trying to make money in the best way that we can. And a lot of that is by saving time, saving effort, saving keystrokes, things that nature, because, we're in a hard market. And even when we're not in a hard market, when you're in a soft market, it presents its own challenges that I've been a part of in my career as well. So, if you think about, the game changing potential that AI can have for your agency, you imagine, a 24-hour, 24/7 customer support by using chatbots or virtual assistants. You think about personalized communication. They can use AI to be able to see within your agency, what their likes and dislikes are, how they prefer to be this, how they prefer that. You could customize the different ways that you communicate with your customers, which gives you a competitive edge. You can, I'm trying to think of other things I've heard, claims processing being affected that way, risk assessments. You can make better decisions with data using AI, sales and marketing. There's so many ways you can affect your customer expectations and personalize your service by using AI within your agency. Again, having the right data, and we'll get into some of those things here in a little bit as well, will help you to be able to manage those expectations and to give them personalized service. And then the last one I kind of alluded to earlier was just that efficiency and accuracy and being able to handle repetitive tasks. And I got a couple of things I wanted to introduce and just talk through and see. Some of you may be using these things in your agency and some of you may not. And so as we walk through some of this a little bit more, I want to walk through some of that. One of the first things that I talked about in the ebook, and then I wanted to just, as you are on this, I'm assuming if you're on this webinar, you either own an agency or work in an agency, or maybe even a carrier. I don't know, but either way, even if you're not in the insurance industry, I think it's important that you assess the need in your agency before you even think about jumping into AI or any kind of things like that. I think we're in a world of shiny object syndrome, so to speak. You probably see that a lot, Brad, in the tech space. But even with AI, people are like, oh, I can just grab this AI and I can solve every problem in my agency. But I think before you can do that, I think you should try to align with agency goals. Maybe you sit down and identify pain points, look at bottlenecks. Maybe you sit down and you think like, what are the biggest challenges that I'm facing in the industry? Maybe you have a meeting with your staff and you talk about those problems to solve, and look at those repetitive tasks every single day. And we'll walk through that here in the next slide, I believe. And then I think as you hear about different use cases and you see them, maybe you start talking through those and say, what could a chat bot look for in our agency? And those that may not know what a chat bot is, we'll walk through some of that here in a minute too. But if you've ever been to a website, sometimes you'll see those little messengers that pop up and they want to ask you questions and you can walk through that. A lot of that's chat bots. I thought for the longest time that was a gazillion human beings behind the screens, like answering your questions legitimately. But once I started doing research a couple of years ago in AI, I figured out they're using data within people's management systems or within their whatever they've put in there, the data in there. That's how they're answering these questions. A lot of it's really simple to use with like frequently asked questions because you've already got the document designed with the answers there, so they can easily answer those. So again, some of these people don't have 65 or 70 employees like Brad. They actually have a chat bot, and those people are jumping in and doing that. And imagine in your agency, if you had that availability in your agency, maybe they go to your website and they have a chat bot that answers their questions. And then that's saving your staff time. So again, thinking through that and assessing that need, like where could you employ that? And then, getting the decision makers in your agency opportunity. And I say key decision makers, but I would say anybody in the agency, whether it's back office staff, producers, whether it's, a marketing manager or the agency owner, just sitting down and figuring out, how we could have more of a collaborative approach. That's hard for me to say. Collaborative approach to using AI in the agency. I think you should sit down and establish a timeline to figure out how we're going to do this, when we're going to do it. Are we going to try out some pilot programs? Or are we going to do some tech that we've seen on this website or that? Or maybe we went to a conference recently and we saw this awesome use case for AI. Sit down and figure, okay, let's try this out for 90 days, or let's try it out for 6 months, or even 1 month. But having a plan, I think, is going to help you. One of the things.
Heath, oh,
Yeah, dude.
Go ahead.
No, you got it.
Yeah, okay, so Heath,
This is your world.
one of the things that I think about is a use case that you can start today with, right?
Yeah.
Is what I call what Steve Anderson, who's an independent consultant, called the blank page problem.
All right.
You got something you want to write, but you just can't even get started, right? And I have this all the time, whether it's with statement of works or emails where I'm trying to persuade somebody to do something, et cetera, or writing a reference email or letter for a previous employee. I've just found that I can't even get started on it. And then I'm already subscribed to ChatGPT 4.0.
Yeah.
And it writes letters that, are sometimes not entirely true, but
right.
But it stops me from just staring at a blank page for a while.
Yeah, I think you're dead on. And I too recently decided, okay, I'm going to stop being cheap and I'm just going to get the Chat GPT 4.0. And it's a game changer. And you can, the thing I love the most, Brad, and some of you guys I'd love to see in the chat or whatever, if you're using Chat GPT in your agency on a regular basis, just to kind of give me a level set. And if Hannah could let me know, I'm not looking at the chats, but I'd love to know how many of you guys are actually doing it. But being able to upload documents in there and have it read through those documents and spit out answers based on actual documents you're loading in is pretty incredible. And even video. I use it for my podcast, and I can upload a whole audio file or a video file and just say, write a transcript or write a synopsis of this podcast. And it can take the video or the audio and transcribe. It's incredible. But, again, I think going back to your agency, evaluating current workflows, things of that nature, again, using the blank page approach that he just mentioned. I think a big way of how to develop that strategy would be asking just a few questions. I'm a big, question guy. It's kind of funny. My wife gets annoyed with my questions. And so she told me years ago of like, okay, instead of asking me these questions, why don't you just start a podcast and ask these insurance people all these questions? And 4 years ago, that's how Insurance Town was started, but because she got tired of my annoying ass questions. But so developing that strategy, here's the questions I would ask your staff or ask yourself or in a team meeting. Where's your time being spent a majority of the time or the bulk of the time? Is that time fruitful? I mean, if your staff's telling you, man, I spend a majority of my time data entry, or I spend a majority of my time researching this, or I was, figure out is that time fruitful?
Yeah. So somebody mentioned in the chat,
what
is the risk of sharing confidential data using ChatGPT? Is Copilot a more secure environment? And the answer is Copilot is a more secure environment and confidential. I'll tell you a story. Samsung was trying to optimize some code for one of their phones and uploaded all of that code into ChatGPT for it to optimize. And now that code is part of the public domain.
Yes.
Right. So it's a very important point this anonymous attendee brought up to us.
I think you're dead on. you
Yeah,
have to be careful when you do load information or ask questions or do anything like that, that you don't put personal information in there for people. Because again, it becomes part of public record. You're exactly right.
right, right.
And it's a danger that you have to, be very careful with when you do that. And so again, um, if you have the ideas of loading in certain, policy documents or file policy jackets or anything like that, you have to be very careful to make sure you don't put in social security numbers and addresses and, personal information and anything like that. Again, asking the questions also of, if I had, time back in my day, or if you had time back in your day, what else would you be able to accomplish? Again, for your sales team, your service team, figure out what could they be able to accomplish if they had more time. And or if they, if y'all do a task, if you operate in your agency by task or by using whatever the language is in your management system, suspenses, whatever it might be, figure out which one of those you're typically behind on. And figure out if you could spend more time doing those, or you could accomplish those with AI. Are there repetitive tasks that could be automated to boost efficiency? There's plenty of those things in agencies. I hear new use cases all the time, people automating things in their agency, which I think is fascinating. And AI can help with some of those things. Are there improvements that could be made to your client experience? And that's a big one that I see most people using AI for now in the industry. So, and then what are we doing with our data? How are we doing with our data? Things that nature. And again, the data is sometimes one of the most important things. I always say one of, because someone's always gonna say, well, that's not most important, but it is, in my opinion. But then, I wanted to get into, excuse me, chatbots for just a use case I see. I mentioned it earlier, but a chatbot can, handle those routine inquiries promptly and efficiently. Again, by loading up the chatbot with the answers, whether it's a FAQ, if you know that certain people ask certain questions, you could be able to stick the answers in. That could be a document that's updated on a regular basis from your staff, from, AI, or from, whatever it might be. But I think you can really take advantage of chatbots using FAQs. It's an opportunity to handle routine tasks in the agency as well. So it could also be something that could handle certain things. And it's robot process automation, which we'll get into here in a minute as well. You could identify strong sales leads. So imagine if you used AI to be able to identify, based on this scenario, these, certain criteria, this is going to be a good lead or it's not going to be. Automating engagement responses. I got something in my throat, Brad, but automating engagement responses. So, you could do something in the sense of, I'll finish the running routine reports, and then obtaining Google reviews is a big one a lot of people do. But imagine having a chat bot they're able to like add drivers or update contact info, or be able to send out reminders for policy renewals and help with form fills. So, if you had a chat bot that was trained properly, they could be on the screen handling, taking the intake forms, handling, if they had the form there, all they do is fill it. Then they're asking the questions of what's your name, date of birth, address, phone number. They could get all that kind of stuff, VIN numbers, they could get driver's license numbers. They could take all that information for you, put it in your management system. And that's something that your staff doesn't have to do. And I think that's just a cool way that people are using AI with chatbots, so to speak.
Yeah,
Again, another way.
Rob Bowen, who's a customer of ours at
Yeah.
Patriotic Insurance, he's using it to create Google reviews, right? Sort of the
Yeah.
blank page issue, or to reply to Google reviews. So the blank page issue of somebody said this about your agency. How do you respond to that? I haven't heard of Elevient. Will build chatbots, but I haven't heard of it. Maybe Hannah has. But
Oh, is this a
yeah,
thing in the
and that
Q&A?
was going to get me into a question, Heath.
Yeah,
Um,
dude.
so are there any particular products for chatbot that you recommend? Maybe not you guys is the right word.
No, no, I don't have any specific vendors, and we try to stay away from, recommending certain vendors. I don't want to get in trouble.
Sure.
But Rob Bowen's on here, and he gave a link to Elevient
Yeah, thank you, Rob. Thank
Yeah,
you, Rob.
dude. All right, that's awesome.
All right, but we better get through. We're at slide 6 of
a lot.
250. So
Yeah,
no,
let's
I'm
keep
kidding.
rolling.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, no, and the other one I would say, and I'd be interested to see if Rob's doing this at all either, or anybody on here is, when you've got onboarding customers, and that's another big part of that client experience of once you have someone that signs the documents, they're done. A big part of that from there is, how are you touching them from that moving forward? Chatbots can send out welcome messages. They could send out welcome emails. Again, automating that from a chatbot. They could answer initial questions, from like billing inquiries. They could do payment reminders. They could do educational resources, different things like that within, your agency that could be handled by a chatbot instead of an actual human. And again, I'm not advocating replacing human beings. I'm just saying that there's some cool stuff that AI can do to make your human beings be able to do the other stuff they really want to do. And providing that personal experience to your customers, or being able to get out and about in the community, whatever those things might be. So again, I'm not advocating replacing anyone. I'm just saying they can enhance them.
Yeah, Heath, when somebody said AI won't replace people, but people will be replaced who don't use AI.
I agree. I love that statement. I think that's a really cool statement that, we say a lot at Vertafore. You don't have to necessarily employ some of these things that we're doing or deploy, or whatever the word is. But if you don't, you may be passed up by someone else that does. And so,
right. But
just
this AI is more like when the internet came to be in the 90s. And it was like, if you didn't jump on that, if you didn't become proficient at the internet, whether you were a retailer or an insurance agent or an IT provider, there was no future for you.
100%.
Yeah. All right. Robot process automation.
Yeah, very similar to chatbots, but it's obviously it's a way, like, imagine. I saw this for the first time in an agency, and I thought it was a ghost, but I saw an agency owner in San Diego, and I was in there working with him, and he just showed me, like, he turned on his computer screen, and within the first like 10 minutes of turning on his computer in the morning, you could see the mouse moving, and it would just open up certain things and do certain things that he just routinely would do in the morning. It would pull up their download report. It would pull up all these things. And, I think you could, put AI within the RPA, and they could automatically enter customer information. Again, a lot of things the chatbots were doing is part of, RPA or a use case for RPA, but it could also automate indexing and storage of documents and retrieving documents for you. Again, I was watching this, I called it the ghost, but watching the mouse move, and it was pulling up a download. It was doing this. It was sending out this, and all these things that you would routinely do, you could program a robot, so to speak, to be able to do that. And a lot of times when I think robots, I think of like Jetsons, or I think of like R2D2, or the gold guy, whatever his name was. But anyhow, God, I'm an idiot. What's his name? I just blanked. All my nerds out there that love Star Wars. What is it?
Star Wars, the gold guy.
Yeah.
Jabba the Hutt? Or I don't know.
I don't know. I can't think of his name.
Oh my God.
I'm blanking. But anyway, I thought of that. But the robots could be so much different than that. They can also automate the collection of data, things that nature, like I mentioned before. And so, I imagine like a scenario in an agency, if you think about it, like with new policy issuance. Let's say that a customer submits a new application through the website. If you've got those on your website, then the RPA could extract that data, get the details, all the relevant information that they need, all those documents. They could collect all those, whether it's deck pages or it could be, driver list, whatever it might be. And then AI could analyze all that for initial risk assessment. And then it could generate a quote almost based upon the extracted data and predefined rules and all that kind of stuff. Now, you got to be careful in some of those situations of making sure you have a human checking through that and make sure, but it could do that for you. And I've seen agencies that are using it that way. And then if the customer accepts that, then the bot could obviously, process the payment, issue the policy, updating all the records. Could happen. And that's a cool way of AI being used. By the way, am I have a hard stop at like 3 minutes, or do I still have a little bit longer?
No, you do not have a hard stop.
Okay, because I was like, holy smokes. I just looked down. I was like, if you want me to stop in 3 minutes, ain't happening. But
yeah, well, so we no, these normally go around 45 minutes.
Okay, perfect. Then I got time. But anyhow, just to give a scenario that I've seen in agencies I've consulted with, they've done that. They've got that set up to where RPAs are handling new policy issuance and quoting and retrieving the documents and collecting the documents. There's just some cool ways that agencies are using AI. Other use
I can just jump in there with a product that we use and some of our agencies use. It's called Zapier.
Yeah.
And basically what it is a product that turns you into a programmer, where you could say, like for us, when we create a new contact through the website, it automatically puts it into our HubSpot. When they sign a proposal, it automatically creates the invoice in our FreshBooks, where we do our billing from. And it basically supports thousands of applications and allows you to do sort of,
That's awesome.
If a new record is entered here, then do this with this other program and pass the information over to it. It's kind of a universal API. So check it out. We don't sell it, but we use it, and some of our agencies do as well.
Awesome.
All right, go on.
Some other use cases that I've seen, and some of you may already be using this and didn't realize it. One of the biggest ones I'll point out, and I didn't think about this. So again, you might be thinking, man, Heath's not really as smart as Brad said he was, but I never thought about Grammarly as AI. Sure. I didn't think about that. I just thought, oh, there's just this cool tool that helps correct my fat thumbs when I mistype things or misspell things. But Grammarly is actually using AI in the background, and they are using that to make, suggestions here, or, help you with your sentence structure and whatnot. So if you guys, any of you guys in the chat want to let me know if you're using Grammarly right now in your agency or anything like that, that is a form of AI that you may already be using in your agency. For those like, I'll never use AI, well, you might already be using it. And I don't know if you guys remember, Brad, back in my day in the 90s, when you had in the early 2000s, that little clipboard, that little paper clip in the bottom of your screen that would pop up and help you. That was like an early form of something like that. So it was just interesting,
an think early back. Annoying form.
100%. But sure. And again, if I had Grammarly right now, I could spell instead of predictive, I could have predictive analytics. But see, I did it on purpose. See if I didn't notice. I should have used Grammarly, but I didn't. People are using, and a lot of carriers are using predictive analytics, and a lot of agencies are starting to use predictive analytics, which again is a form of AI that people just, sometimes don't think about. Emails, again, we talked about it a little bit ago, but you can use ChatGPT or any of these generative AI platforms. You'd mentioned the one that Microsoft has,
Copilot.
Yeah, Copilot, to generate emails, to be able to say, hey, type me an email to Brad Rubin saying, I can't wait to see you on the webinar today. Can't wait to talk about AI. And it'll send this beautiful email that's spelled correctly, not predictive, but it'd be spelled correctly. And it would be probably worded a lot better than I would. And then again, for people who've never used ChatGPT, you can, actually, especially with 4.0, you could put in your own voice, how you want to speak to people, what your title is, what you like to talk about. And I didn't realize this, but I put in there as part of my profile when I was uploading my ChatGPT 4.0 a couple of months ago, I put in there something about that I like dad jokes or something. And so now at the bottom of every one of my emails, it'll put a dad joke in there. And I was like, what in the world? Why does it keep doing that? And I went into my profile and I was like, oh, because I mentioned dad jokes. And I even said something in there about I love grilling and cooking. And so a bunch of references that come out there's usually something about cooking or grilling, which is cool because that's probably what I would do, but or sports references. So anyhow, If you ever get an
Very
email from me
cool.
with a dad joke at the bottom, it's because of ChatGPT. But it is pretty cool that it's, personally to me. So again, you could send out emails, using that very quickly and very efficiently. And you can automate those as well. Social media marketing, that's the biggest case that I see that people are using for blogs and social media of, sitting down with a generative AI tool and saying, can you write me a blog for my insurance agency on this topic? And it'll just spit out a blog. You cut and paste that, stick it into your HubSpot or whatever you use for blogs, and upload that to your website. And then there you go, SEO. You got, your material out there, and you could start emailing that out to people. Again, you could email it using ChatGPT, and using Grammarly to make sure it's all correct. But there's ways that you could use AI right there with the blogs. I think that's another one of, with social media marketing, create a Facebook post, you could say create a post using these 5 platforms, and it'll format it for Twitter, for Instagram, for this, for that, and the other. And then still early cases of it, but I'm still trying it a lot, is the images and video.
Sure.
I did, don't do this. Well, you might be able to now, but I did headshots, where I wanted to get AI generated headshots, see what it looked like, because I was doing enough of these things that people were like, hey, I need a headshot. So I wanted to update with one, because instead of my 1999 glamour shot, I wanted to get an actual headshot. And it gave me 7 fingers on one of the pictures, and the other one it gave me like 3. And my ears were a little lopsided. So it's a little early stages for some of that. I think it's come a long way, but with some of these sites, you could do some pretty cool things with Gen AI. I've seen some pretty cool cases there where people could say, hey, I need an image of this, and it would actually do that. And then another one that I've seen for quite a while now, but people are doing it with AI even more now, is the sentiment scoring, where you can have AI go in, like reading through your emails, your engagement with your customers, seeing how they respond on, Facebook, or your emails, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, whatever it might be. And they could give you a sentiment score saying your customer feels really good about working with you, or your customer's not happy. They need some help. They need some more attention, or you might want to do this or that. And that is crucial. If you could find a way to, keep a finger on how your customers feel about you. And it reminds me of coming out of the bathroom when they have at the airport, when they have the little smiley faces, and you can say, how clean the bathroom was. I don't know if anybody's flown recently, but it's very similar. You can kind of tell how your agents or your customers feel. Again, another one that people are using right now that may not have realized is telematics. You can use the data that you get from the telematics, whether it's personal lines or commercial lines, and it can give you a bunch of good data. And you can compile all that using AI to be able to tell you if this is a good driver, bad driver, a good account, bad account, what you should recommend for them to do, things of that nature.
Um,
Go ahead.
one thing I was going to mention
Yeah,
is
dude.
ways we're using AI, and it's kind of like, is AI a product or a feature? And I think it more is a feature. And
Yeah.
all of the products that we use, all of the software that we use, whether it's an agency management system, a rating system, a word processor, a financial calculator, are all going to have AI related features in them that will be running whether we know it or not, or will give us the ability to use those features. So, like for instance, we in HubSpot, which is our sales CRM product, we record phone calls and it summarizes them.
Yeah.
It summarizes them really well. And it doesn't just dictate what was said, but comes up with a great summarization of what that phone call was about. And you're probably
Yeah.
using it in these Zoom meetings and things like that. My team uses it to sort of encapsulate meetings and stuff like that. And I'm going to ask Hannah to put in the chat the product that she was using for that, which is really good.
Yeah, the Otter
Anyway,
AI is good. But
yeah,
yeah, I think if you're using VoIP, I mean, that's another good way of using that as well with the VoIP, and it could transcribe those and tell you, all those kind of things as well.
yeah,
Again, the major thing here is data is the foundation of that. You've got to be able to have good data put in, whether it's your management system or wherever you're getting the data from. It's got to be good, and it's got to be structured data. It's got to be, put in seamlessly by everyone on your team needs to be putting in things the same way. If you put in, I don't know, a carrier, I'd say it's travelers, but yet someone else on your team puts it in as TRV, it's going to be hard to pull some of that. If you put abbreviations for certain things in your agency and other people don't, it's going to be hard to pull some of that. So it's got to be, uniform across the board. And you've got to, you could use the data. And once you have good data put in, then you could use to identify patterns and trends for targeted strategies. If you wanted to develop a niche within your agency, or if you wanted to send out an email campaign for this or that, or if you wanted to, whatever it might be, using the data in your agency and using AI, you could be able to send out certain communications, or be able to get a report of certain niches you might be able to do, or certain opportunities within your agency, or certain things you need to let go of. Maybe there's a lot of agencies out there that fire clients every year. I got a good friend of mine in Arkansas who fires 10% of his clients every year. And so he could go in with AI and, be able to say, okay, which one of my clients would be the best ones for me to let go of? The ones that, take too much time, the ones that ask too many questions, the ones that complain the most, the ones that don't have the best sentiment scores. Those may be clients that you just have to fire at the end of the year. And it sounds harsh, but you may have to. Again, I'm going to fly through these last 4 or 5 slides, but why it's important is client engagement. Again, we've talked about a lot of these things, but predictive powers, being able to learn patterns and predicting the future based on the information, the data that's in your management system, that's in your emails, that's in all the things that you've got data in. It can foresee a spike in auto claims next month. It could help you engage with your clients to avoid claims. It could help you build better and faster processes in the agency. It could help you quote faster, renew faster, claims management faster. You could, anything you can do faster within your process is going to put more money back in the agency. Data storage and security. You want to make sure that you have scalable and flexible cloud-based storage, which again, I'm sure Brad could talk to about. You could also talk about security measures. Again, implementing robust security protocols, compliance. You make sure you have data governance and compliance with regulations. And then you could, again, you have to seamlessly integrate the AI application with the centralized data.
yeah. Just to pipe in on this one.
Yeah.
We're very against servers. So store your data in the cloud. Make sure that data in the cloud is being stored, is configured correctly for security. So Office 365 is HIPAA compliant if you set things up properly with multi-factor authentication and things like that. So yeah, get rid of servers, move to the cloud. Don't host your data with an IT vendor, including us. We don't hold anybody's data.
There you go.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I was starting to pass that one. So again, you could do some to implement some of, you could do some pilot projects and just start small with some smaller, again, your blank page approach. I like that. Yeah. Start with smaller projects, figure out, and then maybe start off with sales and service. You could use generative AI for lead generation, identifying and qualifying leads. You could use AI just to implement it to automate follow-up tasks, nurture sequences, things of that nature. I think regardless, they get to have a cultural shift, and that was a hard thing for me, to even think about when I first started hearing about some of these things of like, I got to be open to this. I was a kid who grew up scared to death of like Back to the Future and like flying skateboards. Cause like, I don't want that. I like things the way they are right now. I don't want crazy stuff like that. So I had to wrap my brain around the future and wrap my brain around some of these things. So I think it's a matter of having a conversation and a cultural shift in your agency before you can really implement AI. You can help your agency grow. Again, a lot of these things we've already talked about, but just as a review, customer service, deploy 24/7 chatbots, RPA, market analysis. You could use AI for market analysis, identifying new opportunities within your agency. Sales and marketing. Again, we talked about all of these things already. Examples, submission intakes, pricing and risk management, predictive modeling, policy servicing, distribution, claims processing, internal processes. I got 2 minutes left.
Yes.
But
well done, Heath.
I got through it though.
All right. So
you scared me there a minute ago.
Okay, I'm looking into the Q&A here. Well, Heath, I don't really have any other questions for you other than if somebody wants to get in contact with you, how do they do that?
You can find me really easily at on LinkedIn if they wanted to, under just Heath Shearon. Or if you wanted to reach out via email, you could find me at H Shearon, like first initial last name at Vertafore.com. You could find me there. But the best way would probably be LinkedIn. I usually answer LinkedIn messages pretty quick.
Hey, Heath, could you give me controls so I could just show one last thing?
Yeah. Let's see here.
Make me the host.
Yep, you got it. I have all the power right now. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, I know. That's terrifying.
I've got to figure out. Okay, I've got to go in here.
You just go to the 3 dots and you share the screen. Or you make the host. Okay, don't worry about it. Anyway,
I'll get you there.
If somebody wants to get in touch with me, has any questions.
Okay, you're host now.
My email is brad@myarchway.com. And there's a little QR code if you guys are snappy, where you could schedule 15 minutes of time where we could talk about anything IT related. Thank you, anonymous attendee. Thank you very much. Gave me a good start to eliminate some of the white on my page. Huh. Yeah, I hear you. All right, and you could also follow me on LinkedIn. And let's see, I'll just pull that up, I guess. Yeah, that's me on LinkedIn, Brad Rubin. So, hey, Heath, thank you again. I know you're super busy. To all of you who attended, thank you. We'll send you a link to the recording, and have a great rest of your Thursday.
Thank you, guys.
All right. Thank you, Heath. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.